So why do these tropical reefs have so many organisms on them, and this one doesn't? Why does this temperate rocky reef full of fish and sharks, and this beach has nothing? It's the structure. It's all about the structure. These organisms are there because of the structural complexity afforded by the habitats. Different sized organisms and types of organisms, of course, require different types and sizes of structure. Think about different hole sizes, things like that. The problem is we're changing this structure at an incredible rate. We're armoring our shorelines to protect our coastal assets, and in the process are replacing what used to be quite variable rocky reefs with uniform collections of homogeneous walls and blocks. And of course, we're driving climate change via CO2 emissions. This is increasing storm intensity. So we've had 3 major cyclones on the GBR in the last 7 years, approximately 7 years. Those raise the structure from the seabed, leaving nothing, removing the fish as well. And of course, the oceans are warming. We're in the middle of an unprecedented global bleaching event right now. For the last 2 years, in 2016, we lost nearly a quarter of the coral reef on the Great Barrier Reef. It's incredible. We had another bleaching event the same size in 2017. We don't yet know what the mortality outcome will be. So the 3DReefs program I'm here talking about essentially is a program that uses innovative photo-based mapping techniques to assess these ecosystems in a way that we've never been able to before. We can look at coral colonies, for instance, model them with millimeter resolution so we can understand the changes in their growth and erosion and health in general. But also, more importantly, we can start to address really ecologically relevant scales at very high resolution by mapping huge areas of reef, say the size of this room, in 10 minutes, to give us models with 10 millimeter resolution. And from those models, we can, of course, assess the types of organisms that are down there. But we can also, if you see the purple panel, look at the 3D structure of these reefs and start to relate that to the biota that's there. As of now, we've mapped about 14.5 hectares of underwater habitat. And we've got a library of about 40 models of different coral morphologies. So the impact that I hope the 3DReefs program could have sort of falls in 3 key areas. The first is essentially outreach and communication. To address some of these big issues, we really need to be getting people involved, people that never see these habitats, that don't spend their life with a face in the water like I do as a marine biologist. These are powerful communication tools. They also have lots of applications for citizen science. Anyone with a camera can potentially get involved with this based on the technology that we're using. We're trying to keep it relatively low tech. The data that we gather will allow an unprecedented level of understanding of how structure affects organisms. So when structure is removed or changed, we can understand how the organism will change. I can envision sort of a collaborative global program where anybody in groups around the world can submit their imagery, have these models built, and sort of contribute to the collective knowledge. And I think this will empower initiatives, local initiatives that are really critically needed for coral reef conservation, especially through the tropical regions of the world. And lastly, I think there's a lot of applications for this technology to mitigate impacts. For instance, we can 3D print our corals, and we have on small scales. You can deploy these to replace the lost structure due to cyclones or bleaching events at local scales. And secondly, these can be used to develop things like fish-friendly seawalls. So can we protect our coastal assets, at the same time minimize the loss of biodiversity that used to be there before we did that? So we do post all our models on the Sketchfab, so if you're interested to go play with them, please do that. And I just want to thank and acknowledge my collaborators and my funders.